Oops.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Facebook Live. I love this Facebook Live series on the Joyful Business Club, as many of you know. And if you do like and enjoy it, I would really love your help to do two things. One is to invite some friends of yours, particularly those who have an interest in business, to also join the Facebook group. And secondly, subscribe to the YouTube channel where you'll find this and other recordings, the Joyful Business Club YouTube channel. But now let me introduce my special guest today, and it's an honour to have here Wendy Marman. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here. It is an honour to be with you.
I've been a real fan of your work. You are really insightful and astute in so many ways. So Wendy is also part of one of the networking groups I go to, which is called Business at Breakfast. And whenever she speaks, particularly on her coaching, I always come away with so many insights about things that I hadn't thought deeply about. So I know today is going to be a really, really engaging session.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. I once got told I think too much, but I think thinking is really important, and often we need to stop and think and then act, because otherwise we're acting without thinking, and that doesn't always work for us.
This is, we're only like about 1 minute in, and we've already got some deep concepts coming in. I know there's several of you out there watching. Please stop by and say hi. We would love to hear from you if you're online. But let's go into this first question about not stopping to think. Now, I personally think we're a bit into a cult of busyness at the moment. It's almost like a competition to see who's doing the most. Is this a problem, that we're not actually stopping to think enough?
Yeah, because when you react, and you're reacting from going from a different part of your brain, from the limbic part of your brain. They call it the reptile part of the brain. And, you know, Tyrannosaurus Rex didn't actually leave a good feeling around him. So if you want to
No.
if you want to actually build strong relationships, have a healthy life, create success in your business and otherwise, you better get this part of your brain activated. And that requires thinking. And sometimes to move from this part to that, you know, we used to say count to 10. There's a reason for that, because when you first interact and you get your limbic brain going, it takes about 8 seconds of courage to be able to get over that adrenaline hit and get back into the thinking part of your brain and make a decision. So really, counting to 10 gave you space to make 8 seconds of courage to let the hormones get out of your system and actually create a response that will lead you to the outcome you want, not make things worse.
That is really deep, and I hadn't heard that explained in those terms before. That's sounds like it's really valuable advice, not just for people who have anger management issues, but people who are being accustomed to being so busy. And this is something that I struggle with in the workplace, because it's so outcomes focused and you want to be seen to be busy. But, you know, I know myself that sometimes if I'm too busy, I don't make good decisions. And it's really hard to actually force myself to slow down, to think through those issues.
I'm really thankful. One of my coaches once said it like this. He said, sometimes to go fast, you have to slow down. And it's sort of, I went, oh, and then I thought about it. You know, if you're on a winding road going up a mountain, like in some of these crazy movies you see, and you're speeding, maybe James Bond can keep to the curbs, but how many other people go flying off and over the edge? And that's what we see in our lives. So sometimes to get down the hill faster or up the hill faster, you have to be prepared to slow down. It doesn't mean you go real slow or stop, but it does mean that you bring yourself back in control versus out of control. So thinking and moving into thinking allows you to take back control rather than giving control of your life to somebody else.
So not being like an out of speed train wreck, or,
Hmm.
those stereotypical kind of
Yeah.
comedies you see of people on skis who are seriously out of control.
Yeah, or the border that took me out one time on the ski slopes. No.
Yeah, my
Not
husband
good.
seems to be a magnet for those. So it's
Yeah.
a bit of a shame. Now, I want to acknowledge some people who are here joining us today. So we've got Joanne Rutter Holbrook, who says, so grateful for Wendy's coaching. So Joanne is now in Hawaii, but she was in Canberra before. So she's well known to many of us. Casey the Gemini, who says hi, and Michelle O'Leary, who also says thank you.
Hi. Oh, well, hi, Michelle and Joanne and Casey.
Excellent. Now, this session actually is about talking about how to keep going when getting stuck, but we've actually ended up talking about how to sort of get more in control where we're out of control and we're doing too much.
Yeah.
But you obviously see a lot of clients who are a bit of a rush and are stuck. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you can get stuck in different ways. Often we're stuck just because we don't know what to do. But that can be, the stuck is inside us. There is opportunity out there, but we may be frozen, like a deer in headlights. I don't know what to do. It can be fear, or it can be, this is new. Which way do I go? It can be that we're suffering from imposter syndrome and we're really just feeling we don't like ourselves, we don't trust ourselves, and therefore making any decision is next to impossible. Other times we're stuck, it can be something outside ourselves, and we have to figure out how to deal with that. So I say, first, stop and look in. What is it inside of you? What are you telling yourself? What is your self-talk going on? Take notice of that. Is it encouraging me? Is it putting yourself down? If you are telling yourself stuff that you wouldn't tell anybody else because it's not very nice, because we will speak to ourselves
Never.
in a worse way than we speak to anybody else, then write it down, put it on the chair opposite you, and take it to court. Basically, like, do your assessment of, like you would be in a courtroom, and you would be checking, is there valid things? Once you get it out of your head and you get it out there, you call it out, and a lot of it disappears. You can look at it on a bit of paper and say, that's a lie. I'm not like that. I'm like this. When you leave it in your head, it controls you. So you get it out of your head first. Once you've done the inside stuff, you then look at the outside stuff. There are some situations, some environments that are not conducive to growth.
I can so relate to that. So I think most people know, it's fairly open knowledge that my first marriage wasn't so happy. I mean, it was up and down. Nothing is ever, black and white. But, I ended it when I took out a domestic violence order, and there were grounds for doing that. So in that environment, I hadn't really allowed myself to grow. Like, I still did a number of things, like, because I'm a fairly, independent, strong-willed woman, like that never changed. So sometimes I would go, I know he doesn't really want me to do X, Y, Z, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And, there would be, subtle repercussions. But, when I was, married, now that I'm married happily, there are times where I look at my now husband and I go, you're not going to get jealous over this? Like, I've just been on the media, or I've had a book deal, or I've had these things. Like, you don't feel threatened by this? There's nothing that I'm going to have to, deal with that's going to undermine me after this. And he's kind of like, no, why would they be?
Yeah. I mean, that's such an insight, because we do that to ourselves. If we feel insecure in ourselves, then we will feel jealous and threatened, and we won't be able to celebrate other people's success. And so much in social media, and particularly in parenting, is all aimed at with judgment. It's making you feel small, but that's not celebrating each other's success. And unless you go and you actually do some work and decide you like you, that you know what you stand for, then you can't move forward. Because if you're busy trying to be a people pleaser, you cannot succeed, because you can never be in alignment, because nobody is going to be happy. You please one person, you don't please the other person. And you end up going around in these emotional and circles and head for a nervous breakdown. You know, it's not right. That's why if you want to live in alignment, if you want to live with any joy and self-integrity, you've got to know who you are and what you stand for. Now, it's easy to say. If you've never done it, it's not easy to do. But once you start that process, I mean, if you can improve it 1% a day, that over a year is huge. And that's the trouble. We're so used to work where you need instant results, quick fix, things like that. We cook in a microwave. But really good old-fashioned meals used to be slow cooked. And the flavors and everything come out. Well, you've got to slow cook your growth and life, and it's compounds. You know, first day, you might not see much. Second day, it's more like going to the gym. You know that if you're in a gym class, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get fit. That first time you run for 20 minutes or you even walk up the hill is not going to make a big difference. But if you've done that every day for a year, the difference is huge. And I think that's what part of what it means to, I suppose, to grow success. It's like a muscle. Your success, your getting unstuck is we want to make big things. We've got this feel that I've got to win. It's a lottery mentality on our life. I've got to win big or it's not worth it. No, you will do better if you do that little bit. And then the following day you do a little bit and then you do a little bit more and you let it compound. Time compounds every little thing that you do, that small decision done every day so that you're better tomorrow than you are today is the absolute secret to getting unstuck. And it's the secret to success because you make each day a success and through that you make your life a success.
Well, let's talk about the nature of success, and you touched on winning as well. So for a lot of people, you know, particularly in a very male-based paradigm, this is like, you know, winning the gold medal, the sort of Top Gun moment where you save the world and you're carried high by all the other blokes for this amazing thing you've done. And it's a very solo pursuit, although even in Top Gun there were two of them in a plane, but for some reason it's only one that gets celebrated. It's not the ground crew.
No.
Not the flight controller.
Yep. No, there's not.
So what actually is success?
Well, that is a great question because I would say, well, what is success for you? Now, if I help a lot of people define success for their life, for them. So I've helped business owners who were beating themselves up because they weren't growing their business. But what it really was, when we sat down and we looked at their whole life, so we looked at what they considered about fitness, their finances, their family. And I also have a couple of other categories that I fit in there too. Fun, because without fun, you don't sustain anything. And faith. True. Do you have faith in yourself? That's your growth area. For this person, their key area was family. Every time they had to make a decision, every time an important choice came up, they chose for family. And so their business, then they beat themselves up for not growing their business in a way that somebody else said was the best way to do it or to get the results. And I said, well, if you want to build that business, if it's still important to you, what we have to do is we find a way that you can build it around your family because your family is what is most important. So your definition of success must include what is important to you. And most people have never thought of it. So I ask people to write, what is success for me health-wise? What is success for me as a family member? What is success for me financially? Then go back and ask yourself why. Then you pull all those together and you say, okay, so success for me looks like this. And that's part of it but success also personally, what are your values? If you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. So success is believing in me, trusting me. I've heard it described as that those who know me and love me the most respect me the most. that can be your definition of success. It's
That's
not
really
the same for
interesting.
everybody.
Well, and I think that's a really important distinction too. And what I like too about your explanation too is that it's not just you going out being the top gun of the world, leaving your family behind, and the two being in conflict. And I think this is really important, particularly for women as business owners. We tend to think that somehow, it's bad or it's wrong to want to build an abundant business. But, it doesn't have to be. My mum was a successful business owner, and actually she was a phenomenal role model. I never grew up thinking as a woman that there were things that I couldn't do or shouldn't do, or that never felt guilty about having money. There was never any pressure to marry the Prince Charming to provide for me for life, because that hadn't been my model growing up.
No, well, my mum was an orthopedic surgeon. She was the only one on the register in Australia at the time.
Wow.
But there were problems because the Orthopedic Association wouldn't allow her to practice here, even though she completed. So there's the different things, but she still ran the private practice with Dad. She taught us to believe in ourselves. She got me thinking, but she also knew what was important with family and her beliefs and things like that. So like your mum, my mum was an amazing role model, and so was her mum, my grandma. And I'm very thankful that I'm able to come from that line of long, strong women. But I still suffered imposter syndrome. And to one of my coaches that I had said, when you are walking in integrity to who you are, you cannot be an imposter.
Wow. Let's just repeat this again. When you are walking in integrity to who you are, you cannot be an imposter.
Yeah.
Because you are you.
You are you. You cannot be an imposter when you are you.
But so many women suffer from imposter syndrome. So what's going on here? Is it because we're not living in our own light? Is it because we're trying to fit in to be, do what others expect of us? We're not shining in our own light. Like, what is going on here?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure out there, because you can treat people as people and have relationships with them. Think of if you've ever made an overseas trip. When you see the people of the country you're visiting and they wear, fancy clothes or whatever, you're not seeing them as people, you're seeing them as scenery. In a lot of work situations, you go along and you're not seeing them as people, you're seeing them as a cog or a machine. And people work best when you see them as people. And there's also the difference between just the way we're wired. Some of us are more wired for processes, results, for tasks, and some of us are more wired for people. And we have that starting point. And that's one of the things I teach with personality insights and the DISC model of human behavior is when you know the way you're wired, you can connect better.
And we were talking about family, and this is my son. Come here, honey. He's been waiting on a Rubik's Speed Cube under here, honey, for a month. That's come from the States. Come in, and he's just arrived. So that's come here, honey, so we can say, and you can just let people know. So my apologies for the distraction, but I think everyone would understand how important this is when a young child's been waiting for a whole month for a delivery from the States, and it's finally here the moment Mum's on a Facebook Live. This is it. Now, honey, we've said hello, and could you now go so that we can finish our Facebook Live? Be careful with those scissors. And shut the door.
Awesome.
Anyway, so imposter syndrome and integrity and all of these things. And earlier on too, we were talking about values. So how hard or easy is it to live according to your values? Do we all even know what our values are? Most
people don't. And the thing is, even if I have them, I mean, if you're in a relationship with a family, one of the things I do is I have an exercise where I get you to do your value, to look at a value sheet, to think about them, choose your top 5, get your spouse to choose their top 5, then to come together and explain why you chose them, what they mean, and how you would see them being lived out. And then from that conversation, you choose 3 for your family. Now, obviously they've got to be in line with your own ones. But if you've got if you've got different ones each, how do you bring those together? And that can be such an enlightening attitude, because the thing is too, if you've got kids and they come home from school and you've said our unique family values are this, and something happens and they tell you about the Danes, that you can say, wow, high five, you just lived out our family values today. You can honor them, you can check it, you can actually have a standard. Or if some behavior problems come up, is that in line with our values? Then what's going on? You can have the conversations. So people talk about getting on the same page, but getting on the same page as a family means knowing what you stand for. So you can have your individual ones and certainly apply those, and it works the same. If you are in a family, you need your own ones, and you also need your family ones to be able to balance the competing priorities that come when you're trying to consider more than just yourself.
This is really important. And actually, I love how primary schools in particular are now adopting school values. And I think the kids really get this. They really understand it. And for my kids, they understand often that when they get awards at school, that the values awards actually count for a lot more than the academic progress, because it does, quite frankly, mean a lot more. You might have someone who's got straight A's, but, are they a nice person? Because if they are just doing everything they can, lying, cheating on exams just to get that A's, they're not actually really learning or making a good contribution to society.
Well, we hear in business, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
If you don't know, like, and trust you, why should anybody do business with you?
Sometimes I think we think that, we do business with something because it's the cheapest price or it's the best thing. Like sometimes you do, but there have been times where I have deliberately paid more because I've liked the deal. And at least twice I have purchased property because I like real estate and I like investing, where my offer was not the lowest, was not the highest, was not the best offer by far. But what I did demonstrate was values. I was really upfront about, this is my situation, this is my financial situation, this is my intention for the property. Actually, now that I think of it, it's probably 3. And in one case, it had been a family home and they obviously didn't want it to be torn down for apartments. So, I was very clear about this is what our intentions are. And I always, make that point of having an honest discussion with real estate agents, because most people lie to real estate agents. They think they've got something to withhold by holding back, but it's actually the real estate agents are actually the advocate for you. They work for the seller. They don't work for you, but they want to make sure that the deal goes through. So they will represent the best deal forward.
Yeah. And the thing is too, there are people, I sold real estate for a number of years.
I had no idea. You've done so many amazing things and we haven't even gotten into that because we went straight into the deep questions.
Yeah. So it was just, look, I've lived a crazy life and I've had to do what was the next right thing I had 4 teenagers at the time. They wanted to live at home and they wanted to eat, and it required income, just sort of minor details like that.
Hungry teenagers.
Hungry, yeah. Bottoms hanging out of the fridge at all hours, just feed me, feed me, feed me. But I earned a name as being someone with integrity. I even had other real estate agents come to view the properties that I'd sold or was in the process of selling with someone who'd made an offer. And I said, look, you made the first offer, but I've had 3 full price offers behind you. You didn't offer the full price, but you offered first. You have 48 hours to decide whether you are going to go to full price or not. And so they said, can we view it again? And they brought another real estate agent with them who owned their own company and said, you can trust Wendy. She said, she's telling you the truth. I would buy this at the price. It's worth it. And she wasn't known for her praise. And for me, I thought that was good. I was known in the industry by not only my own company, but by others because I told the truth. And that meant there were times when I was frustrated because I lost the listing. And then people came back to me 6 weeks. We should have gone with you. This other person came in and they told us blah, 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 blah. But I wasn't prepared to do that because that wasn't in line with who I was. I like to go to bed at night and sleep, sleep the sleep of somebody that likes themselves and believes in themselves and, knows that they told the truth during the day.
This is so important. And I, had an experience years ago where we were gazumped, which I'm sure you know all about. We put in an offer. The offer had been accepted. It was now with the lawyers awaiting to, start the exchange. And the real estate agent came back and said, oh, we've got a better offer and you need to match it all the dealers through. Now, my biggest regret ever was to have not said to the real estate agent, we've made a final offer. We did that with integrity. We will not bargain any further. The deal's off the table, and walked away. We did not do that. What we did was say, well, okay, it's a pretty good deal. The returns on investment are pretty good. We think the market in this area is going to rise. And it's only a small amount. So look, we'll match it. So we did that and then went and spent $1,000 on conveyancing legals, got to the day of settlement and we were gazumped anyway.
Right. Yeah. No. So I
now have a rule. If there's something a little bit dodgy, and I don't always follow this because sometimes it catches up on you. It's sneaky, right? It's not that obvious. But, like I had, recently an Airbnb guest. I have an Airbnb that's vacant at the moment during COVID, but he was mucking me around and he mucked me around one too many times. And I went, look, I don't care if this is a good deal or not, but you're not acting, I felt he wasn't acting with integrity towards me. So I'm like, the deal is off the table. I just refund all your money. We're done. Not going to cripple anything. We're done.
Yeah. And that's that's the strength of knowing who you are and what you stand for, because people want to live in alignment. They want a less crazy life. I think you started with, we're suffering from busyness. In one sense, the gift of COVID last year was all those things that we thought were important, the ballet lessons, the piano lessons, the drinks after work, all of those things that we were able to go and do were taken away. And so I think the real gift, if we stop and actually think about it, of this time of COVID is knowing what's important. What are you left with? When the chips are down, what is important? And when you know what's important, that's where you can start rebuilding and refocusing. If you've got too busy and stressed because of Zoom and how I look and still showing people, then that lesson hasn't been learned yet. And you get another chance now to look at it again. Lessons that you don't get the first time have that habit in life. They come around again and give you another chance to learn them. So until you get it. So if you're sick of having it come back in your face, learn it. It's the easiest way to get rid of it. So you can start doing that and thinking about what's important.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you have a book coming out. Would you like to tell everyone about your book?
Okay. Well, basically, over the years, there's been so much happening and it's so diverse. I love growing. And the summary of what you do is, if you want life different than it is now, there's a gap between where you are and where you want to go. And that gap is a growth gap. You become the person who can live your dream. You become the person who can achieve the success. You can become the person who enjoys life and feels they own themselves and are not at the whim of everybody else. But that takes a process. So what I've done in this book is put that process down in 3 steps. Ready? It's a bit like when you plan your overseas trip or your trip, to the next state, and if you're lucky, that you decide to do it. You think about what's involved. You make, if I go, what would I do? What would I want to do? It addresses those, I think I like this journey. Why would I do it? Yes. And it ready starts with deciding you're going to take the journey. But once you've decided to take the journey, then, if you're going in summer, you might want to say, I'm going to get fit so I can put my swimming costume on or whatever,
Yeah, go the bikini.
Go the bikini. Yeah, and I don't wear bikinis, but that's all right. You get fit so you can do the activities you want to do. If you want to go skiing, I had to do the deep knee bends for a while to make sure that the legs wouldn't collapse, things like that. So you get yourself ready. You make sure you got the clothes, you've got what you need to take on the journey. that's set and start. You get started. And so once you start, you're actually on the journey. And that's when you have to think on your feet. All sorts of things you're not expecting are going to come up. It's how you navigate and deal with life, and you grow and you enjoy it as you go. So basically my book is those 3 steps, because I've read a lot of growth and development and leadership books, and some of them were fine if you were already halfway there up the mountain, you know. So, but if you were just starting and you didn't know where to start, or you were dealing with a whole lot of demons because you'd experienced some trauma in your life or something like that, they didn't address how can somebody like me ever have a life like that? How can I'm not even at the starting line, let alone ready to go from the start and start creating success. So what I've done in the book, I've addressed it so that it doesn't matter where you are now. Wherever you're at, you can start, and you can start and choose your direction based on what's important to you, take a step, you're one step closer. And you can then learn the skills to navigate. So whatever life throws at you, you can come back and build that strength to keep going. Because resilient, it's you start with knowing yourself, then you connect to others, then you balance your competing priorities. Then from there, you learn to navigate the known and the unknown. Because if you're going somewhere and there is no map, you need to have the principles of navigation so you can draw the map as you go. So I go right through that.
Well, thank you very much for that. So the details of how to pre-order your book are in the event details that were created for the Facebook event in this group. And Wendy, I'd love you to also share the details too with others in the group. I know you have pre-sold a lot of books already, but for those of you who haven't, make sure you do. So thank you so much for being a guest, Wendy.
Thank you for having me. And I hope that there's something there. You know, don't let anybody dump something on you. Don't take don't take offense. Don't give offense.
Don't allow anyone to gazump you.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what they're effectively doing. They're trying to gazump you in life.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.